Good evening, Final Fantasy Randomizer fans. Welcome to Game 1 of our semi-final matchup between Crab Cakes and Cheezinator. I'm Jat, and I'm joined in the booth here by Dr. Funkin. How are you doing tonight, Dr. Funkin?
I'm doing just wonderful, Jat. How are you?
Doing great. So, for those of you who are just tuning in, this is the Final Fantasy Randomizer Spring 2020 tournament. We've gone through 6 rounds of Swiss, a brutal last chance qualifier, a play-in race, the round of 18, or 16, the round of 8, and now here we are in the semifinals. We're up to our top 4, and man, these are 2 heavy hitters in this community. We have last year's defending champion, Crab Cakes, against Cheezinator, one of our most veteran runners and someone who's always around helping out, teaching, learning, and racing in the Discord. Anything you're looking forward to tonight?
I'm just looking forward to this match as it is a rematch from the Swiss.
Yeah, so in the Swiss round, these 2 faced off, and Cheezinator won that matchup. Crab Cakes, to the surprise of many, had 2 losses through the Swiss rounds, and that just kind of showed that she has some chinks in her armor. She's an excellent runner and definitely still, a favorite in almost any matchup. But with the history between these 2 runners and with the level of execution, one decision could mean the difference here.
It certainly could, and this is going to be an exciting one. We had our draft tonight. Crab Cake started out by picking a white mage, followed by Cheezinator picking a fighter and a black mage, and Crab Cakes tried to pick none, but Cheezinator did not consent to that, so she picked a thief.
Yeah, they were joking around a little bit beforehand because, Cheezinator kind of saying in Discord that he wanted a little bit more of a regular party, and that's more or less what he got here. Fighter, thief, white mage or red mage, black mage has been a fairly standard party throughout the Swiss rounds when they could choose whatever they like. And this is going to be no exception. So we should be expecting a fairly fast seed here, and here we go. Runners are off into Canaria.
Yep, getting a look at white magic. We got level 2 exit, that's great to see, as well as Invis 2 and heal. We've got Brack, and we don't really have a sweeper in black magic, unfortunately, which is going to make things a little slow to start.
Yeah, but man, they must be happy that they brought that white mage instead of a red mage, as that exit is in slot 2, and slot 2 is not learnable by the red mage. Of course, no issue here. Exit at level 1, going to be very helpful throughout the early game as long as you dodge that exit boss, which of course is when you accidentally use exit, 3 or 4 floors deep into Topher.
Absolutely. I've seen races lost to the exit boss before. Ooh, nice cheap tents, though, right here in Corneria. You'll love to see that.
So we have a quick question in chat. Are both runners using custom sprites? Yes, that is correct. Both runners are using some amount of custom sprites. So if you have any questions about which ones are which, chat will be able to help you out. But as Dr. Funkin was saying before, we do have a fighter, thief, black mage, and a white mage out there.
And it looks like Cheezinator is going to try and get some early XP, taking down some imps, while Crab Cakes is going straight to the Temple of Fiends to check the chests up there. Ice armor is a great pickup for that fighter.
Yeah, for sure. And that also can be transferred over to the thief when it gets promoted to a ninja in the late game if the fighter finds something like, an opal armor or a dragon armor. One of our other semi-finalists, Spellzap, here in chat tonight saying what an encounter table is. I think there was just a huge cluster off the power cycle. So you're going to be seeing these runners burn a bunch of encounters consistently when they're starting out.
Absolutely, and that's going to make those low-cost tents even more valuable, because you'll be able to encounter manipulate and basically take no encounters on the overworld.
Yeah, so let's quickly chat about encounter manipulation, as it's a little bit early in the run, and it's a good topic to cover. So quickly, we have the Chime and the TNT. So the TNT will be turnable in the Inner Sea. But yeah, encounter manipulation. So encounter manipulation is something that you can do where you have 2 different functions to kind of reset your game on the NES. You have a power cycle and you have the reset button, and they do different things to the encounter table. So the power cycle is going to bring you back to the very beginning. So if the first and second step of the encounter table are encounters, when you power cycle, you're going to hit them both. However, if you soft reset, you save your position. So what you can do is you can take your power cycle, hit your first 2 steps, get your encounters, and then soft reset out of each of them to avoid all the encounters until the next one. And those are really, really helpful ways to optimize your overworld movement, as well as some of your shorter dungeons. You can go in, get a nice long run without encounters, and this will save you minutes on your time throughout the game.
Yeah, it's especially useful in something like, say, Waterfall, where you just have to go through this one long tunnel, grab some quick chests, and then since they've got exit, they'll be able to get out possibly with only 1, maybe 2 encounters, aside from the spike type.
Yeah, and the reason we bring this up even more so today is because we have, as you mentioned, super cheap houses and tents. And when you have $12 tents, you can basically buy 40, have them for the entire run, and that means you can just constantly encounter minute your way out of things. So I'll expect to see lots of that today. Now, did you see that what was in Provoca there, Dr. Funkin?
I saw Lefane, and that would be a function of the fact that during these bracket flags, we have Town Shuffle on. So what could have been Provoca has instead become Lefane. So not having a sweeper at level 1 could cost us quite a bit, considering we might not have access to any kind of magic early on. In fact, we've only got access to level 1 and 5 magic, as we've got Melmond at the Vanilla Elfland location.
So Melmond has some pretty nice goods there. We had Ice 3 in the Warp slot, so that's going to be Black Wizard learnable. But we did have Ice 3 in slot 2, which I believe will be Black Mage learnable, with some more levels.
Ice 3 could not have been in both slot 3 and slot 2.
Oh, sorry, Warp. Sorry, my apologies. Warp was in... There was Warp and Ice 3. I'll get a confirmation from our tracker which ones were there, and which one. One was in the slot that you couldn't learn, and
Yes.
one was in the slot that we could.
Ice 3 was in the vanilla warp slot, so it cannot be learned except by a black wizard.
Right, and then Warp was in slot 2, and that explains how my,
Brain got
my
slit,
wires
I get
got
it.
crossed. Yeah. And we have, sync on our 2 runner screens, both of them picking up the tail.
And they also picked up the canal in the upper boxes of the dwarf cave, so we can get out of the inner sea, which is fantastic, considering we still haven't found a good sweeper that we can cast yet.
Yeah, so as the runners leave the inner sea, there's kind of a few different places they can go. So we have 3 towns that are available, and of course with Town Shuffle on, checking towns early is essential, as you can find Crescent Lake, which will have a key item. You can find Provoca, which will have a key item and level 2 magic, and you can find Elfland, which will have level 3 and 4 magic. And these are all things that the runners are going to be looking for. Outside of that, they have the opportunity to dive Earth for some items, or dive Marsh, which is still in the inner sea and something that no one really wants to go to, but we have tri-state movement on right now. And what tri-state movement means is there's a much higher chance that the floater and the canoe, the 2 critical pieces that unlock more of the game, are in a tri-state. And what that means is that they're more likely to be loose than any other item. They're over 50% chance to be loose. And that
That's
means
correct.
more dungeon dives will be necessary, if they are.
Correct, yeah. We have guaranteed 3 loose items plus a loose canal, and because we have put tri-state, which basically randomizes whether the the canoe and the floater are incentivized, just makes them more likely to be among those 3 loose items. Wow, that's some great stuff over at Matoya's cave.
Yeah,
That
we
gold
had
bracelet is immediately useful, and that opal gauntlet could be useful once we promote to a knight.
and gold bracelets for $56,000 in the store. So being able to pick up one for free there in Matoya's cave, good thing. I never knew Matoya was so rich. My goodness, she's got quite the gear.
She's gonna be real unhappy when that crystal comes back and she can see that all of her stuff's missing.
Nice. So Crabcake's prioritizing town checks before she decides to go dive some dungeons. Meanwhile, Cheezinator, we'll have to see where he goes next, but we'll quickly get a look at what is in the Vanilla Crescent Lake location.
Crabcake's bracking some trolls to get a little bit of early XP.
So yeah, quickly touching on Brack. So Brack is a insta-kill spell on a single enemy, but it has 2 very important functions. One, it gives you some early game clear, especially for like an easy kill on Guardland, but 2, it also lets you fight Tia and Kraken a little bit earlier than you normally would be able to, as it has about 26 or 27% chance of killing them in one shot. So you can go in with, decent armor and a relatively low-level party with it being at level 1, and take out those fiends just a little earlier than you normally would be able to. How's our level 2 magic looking, Dr. Fun?
Not amazing. We've got Quake as a sweeper, and then we also had Lock 2, and Hold. And then for notable level 2 white magic, we had Cure 4.
Yeah, so Cure 4, really, really nice. When you have such a high health pool, like the fighter does, Cure 4 is going to be a great way to help secure your late game. Especially at level 2, you have plenty of casts, Cure 4 also a nice time save. Heal 3, Cure 4, Heal 2. All of them prevent you from having to menu heal pots and buy as many heal pots, so they can save you a decent amount of time throughout the seed.
And speaking of movement, as we were just a minute or two ago, Bicky has given up his ship for a simple canoe. However, that's going to open up another incentive location in the Ice Cave, as well as the Waterfall Cave, and it's going to open up the Volcano.
Yeah,
Ooh, and we got nice cheap pro rings here in Provoca.
Ooh, very nice. 3,300. Definitely something that you're looking to see, as well as fairly cheap silver bracelets. So we're going to have pretty decent gear throughout this early game. Now, the other thing of note is that will also open up ordeals, but I would anticipate that they will prioritize Waterfall because of the fact that they have such early exits. So Warp is the preferred spell to be using in ordeals, as it allows you kind of cheat the Pillar Maze. But Exit is perfect for Waterfall. Warp is great there too, but we'll have to see where Crabcakes goes. Getting the canoe at the vanilla location-ish, so, you know, it's usually at Crescent Lake, but this is Crescent Lake but Provoca, will allow them to either go to Volcano Ice, or it will push Crabcakes to go up to the North Continent, and that's kind of a critical decision that ends up being in a lot of seeds, so we'll have to see where she decides to go.
Yeah, and that's tough, because, Cheezinator getting blocked by an NPC, going to check the level 8 magic to see what he's not likely to get. Nothing of importance at, level 8 fast. You'd hate to see that.
Yeah, so Fast, a critical late game buff to help you get through the later Fiends, as it essentially doubles the number of hits that your primary melee character is going to be getting, and that is huge, as having that multiplier rather than an adder like Temper will really, really make those later Fiends both faster but also safer, as if you kill them before they kill you, you're going to be in great shape. Another big problem with level 8 Fast is that if one of the Fiends has slow 2, that could be a really big issue if that slow 2 hits, the fighter who's swinging your only good late game sword.
And with it being at level 8, you're going to get 1, maybe 2 casts, depending on what level you end the seed at.
Yeah. So Crabcake's showing us what her decision is, and she's going to go to the Southern Continent. And I generally, this is the play that I will normally make as well. One, because she'll get to check Onrak, and if Onrak is Elfland, that's a really nice win for her. The other thing is that it will also give her 2 incentive locations versus the single incentive location that's on the Southern Continent if she does Volcano and Ice Cave. Now, Volcano, of course, being a Fiend Dungeon, is an orb you need to get. But, she is still going there.
Yeah, right now, though, the problem is that we still don't have, a really good, reliable sweeper. The best we've got is Quake. This also lets us check the Oasis Merchant to see if it's got a potential third item, as in the item you can buy, the key item you could buy.
Yeah, the vendor item.
Thank you. Words, they're tough.
Yeah, so Crabcake's going to do a pretty common strategy here. Take a quick look and just going to reset out, as she made a nice save point right there before she decided to go up to Onrak. And Onrak is vanilla. So this does mean that there's a possibility for a floaterless seed. One of the ways that the floater can become required is if Onrak is in the vanilla, Lefane, or Gaia location, is those are both floater locked, and we will need to defeat Kraken behind the Oxyel in order to win this. But with vanilla Onrak, we still could be looking at something where the floater is not required, and that's something to keep an eye on as we go throughout the seed.
Cheezinator doing a cheeky check of the first floor of Earth, gets himself a free pro ring out of it.
Yeah, the cheeky check of Earth is actually become a little bit of a not so off meta play. It has a couple things going for it. One, it's fairly quick. 2 is that it has multiple spike tiles if you're looking to get a few levels. But without an early sweeper, there's really not any good, spike tile that you're looking for. Now, I think a second reason why Crabcakes opted to go to Waterfall is that Quake is actually excellent against the Mudgull Rockgull tile, and that's a good way to get some early levels. So, I am proven incorrect, but it is something that you can do there to get through.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're hitting pretty hard right now, so running still seems to be the primary way of dealing with it.
Yeah, I think Cheezinator also picked up that Zeus Gauntlet in Earth, and that's a nice pickup when you're lacking sweepers.
Definitely, yeah.
So the Zeus Gauntlet, of course, casting Lit 2, which will help against a great number of packs, but especially in C. If you see them have to make an early C dive, and neither runner has found a sweeper, which is unlikely at this point, as the best that they're going to get. Actually, I don't even know what the best they're going to get before promotion is, because Elfland is guaranteed to be behind the floater. So the best they might have is even like Quake. Dealing with those unrunnable packs in C could be a big issue if that's where the floater is and that's where they have to go through.
Yeah, it certainly could be, and it does seem like Quake is the best sweeper that we have available to us. Ooh, hey, a ribbon, as well as the adamant from the robot.
Yeah, so unfortunately a required double dip, well not required double dip, but a double dip of dwarves will be in order. CC will probably put that off for a little bit, as you're looking to A, open up a few more incentive locations, at least ordeals, and also B, ideally you have the key before you go back there, as there are a number of chests in the armory.
It was a required double dip, after all, the canal was there.
Oh yeah, you're right, so it was required. So CC showing off that encounter manipulation, there's like 4 or 5 encounters off the power cycle that they have to burn. One of our more experienced ones, I'm sure, has been counting for us, so we'll see that in chat. But yeah, not a fun thing, but something that Crabcakes and Cheezinator are both more than happy to do. Cheezinator making the adjustment to go grind a few peeds here in Crescent Lake, just to get a couple levels first.
Yeah, Crabcakes did a little bit similar, and also took the opportunity to knock down her thief so that she could funnel her XP onto the other 3 party members.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to see if Cheezinator makes an adjustment as well to go down to a 3-person strat. 4 versus 3 is a really interesting discussion, like, more higher level party members versus more lower level party members versus fewer higher level party members. And basically it tends to come down to survivability and melee damage versus spell charges. In the Thief's case, it also is just the run chance, which if you're trying to dive something early makes a big difference. So CC making an aggressive play here.
Yeah, she is. CC going for the early Mirage play. Despite being this low level, she's got that chime, and she's going to see if that leads to something.
Okay, something else of note is that there was a T-Rex off the power cycle, one of the first few encounters, so that's also an opportunity to grind a little bit if the levels are needed, but neither of these runners big proponents of stationary grinds. We found a Dragon Armor, which is the best late game armor for the Knight, but will be promotion locked.
It will be, but once we are able to promote, we can move that Ice Armor down to the Ninja if the Ninja ever feels like getting back up off the ground.
Yeah, ninjas, or thieves in particular, ninjas not so much, well known for being lazy in Final Fantasy. They like to stay on the ground and get dragged around.
Yeah, Crabcake's having some real trouble trying to quake down these vampires, unfortunately, and not really doing a lot of damage with the fighter yet.
Good amount of money, really good amount of money, as well as an Opal Helm, which is not better than a ribbon, but it provides good absorb in the late game if you do not have a ribbon for that Knight.
And she exits out, drops a house, and is gonna burn off some encounters, then move on to the greater than less than room on the 2nd floor of the Mirage Tower.
And Cheezinator looks like is burning some encounters and then also making a similar decision to go to the northern continent. We will have to see if he decides to do ordeals and if he decides to go to Mirage or not, as those are kind of the critical decisions. I believe he'll do the exact same vendor item check in Oasis, followed by On-Rack, followed by Waterfall. But then the decision to go to Mirage before doing ordeals is not uncommon, but also not like, this is the clear path.
And just like their color palette might suggest today, the Chimeras have Poison Touch, which, while not deadly, is annoying.
Yeah, but Brack
they're
goes
also
off.
unrunnable.
Yeah, so relying on these insta-kill spells is going to add a lot of variability into these dives, may I say, as they have very limited spell charges, and Crabcakes is going to probably take at least another encounter here.
Yeah, hopefully she gets the information she wants and is able to... Well, luckily she's got exit, so if she finds what she needs, she can just get out.
Yeah, I think a large part of this play was dictated by the fact that she had exit, because trying to go up and down without exit would have been almost impossible. Just required a lot of bashing your head against the wall, which may have been better spent doing something like ordeals. But because she has exits, you can check these relatively safely and then get out. But needs a run here.
Yeah, this has not been a particularly safe party with the Lit 2 and whatnot, and yeah, she unfortunately takes a wipe.
Yeah, it just needs a little bit better luck there. Deciding in the early game that the XP distribution is worth having no Thief up, but of course the Thief's going to be the best option to run. So if Cheezinato decides to make some early level dives, he is going to have a little bit better luck getting away from fights. Not only does he have a few more levels, but he also has that Thief up.
Absolutely true. Now, Crab Cakes once again fighting these poisonous chimeras. The good news is that because there wasn't anything super vital, there were some nice-to-haves but not need-to-haves in greater than, less than, she'll be able to check the chests she didn't get a chance to check and hopefully avoid that encounter by not checking those first set of chests.
Yeah, I believe she's in on the same power cycles. There was nothing really that bad in it, just needed to get a little bit more run luck. And sometimes the answer in Final Fantasy Randomizer is just try again.
Yeah, unfortunately, I forget if it was the Mummies or the Wiz Mummies, but they had Lit 2, which is what knocked out basically your whole party.
But, one little turn owner change and a good run chance, and you're golden. So, there's a lot of discussion in certain races about, when do I leave, when do I adjust? But if you just wipe and you get really close and there's nothing that was like so unsurmountable, just try again is generally a good play. Meanwhile, Cheezinator, getting taken out by some giants, but not a really big deal, and it's about to go make his waterfall dive.
Absolutely, and he'll get his, information out of there, his adamant, and get a ribbon as
Yeah, that ribbon, really nice to find. In your kind of Topher checklist, what you're looking for, generally speaking, is a ribbon, as well as like a late game sword, and having the ribbon already found is something that's very nice. But these runners are going to be opening up a bunch of boxes still, as we still have only found the single guaranteed loose item in the canal, and we have 3 more to find.
And unfortunately, she did run into this fight again, but she managed to get Quake off, and it seems to be doing a great job at taking out most of those. Well, it took out all the Wiz Mummies, and she successfully runs away. She found a white shirt on the other half of greater than, less than, which is an amazing find. White shirt, on top of being great armor for a white wizard, casts Invis 2 anytime you use it in battle.
Yeah, and just the fact that it does that makes it so that even if Invis 2 ends up at a very high level, you can still just consistently spam it throughout the race, and that makes such a big difference when you're going through Topher. It also resists death and fire, which is always nice.
It certainly is. And Crab Cake's running away from that wings and steak platter, and looks like she's probably gonna head up and turn in that adamant at this point.
I think she'll probably do ordeals first, but
good point. Good point.
Yeah,
that proximity-wise, I forgot about ordeals.
Yeah, and Jonathan Mills, you're pointing out in the chat, Opal armor also found, but a little bit outclassed by the dragon armor. But yeah, both are better choices, and just gives you, all the reason to, give that ninja your leftovers.
Opal armor, aka the money suit.
Yeah, you have the Opal gauntlet, you have the Opal helmet, you have the Opal armor. All of it is just money, so I think Opal is just like basically currency in this game.
Kind of like Agamas are units of experience, Opals are units of cash.
Exactly. So yeah, Crab Cake's making the ordeals play. This makes a lot of sense. Nothing really too surprising here. Going to ordeals first or going to ordeals second, making a little bit of a difference. She got a few levels by going to Mirage first, but Cheezinator could skip that and skip the sailing and skip the walking. And those could all be a big time save if he decides to just go straight to ordeals and then go elsewhere before going to Mirage.
However, if Cheezinator skips that completely and ends up being able to go mode it later and misses that white shirt and then Topher ends up being nasty, that could cost him too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a lot of races we've seen there's no white mage, there's only a red mage, and that can make Invis 2 completely unlearnable. And in that case, the white shirt is at an especial premium. But in this case, we do know that we'll have access to Invis 2. We just don't know how much Invis 2. And unfortunately, Invis 2 is one of those spells where you don't really want to cast it twice. Fast, I'll cast twice. But Invis 2, you usually want to be able to cast 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, as you need 6 casts of it to get up to max evade on all your party members.
Yep, that's exactly why the shirt is so much more valuable than the spell, even if you do have a white mage in your party.
Yeah, for sure. So right now, just to kind of give a quick recap, the big difference is that Cheezinator's just been a little bit more thorough in his checks. He checked Earth and he checked Matoya, whereas Crabcake skipped a few of those and went to Mirage instead. Cheezinator got a Zeus Gauntlet, while Crabcake's got a bunch of endgame armor and not much else. And as you're going to see, they're both going to be in our deals at the same time. So this race definitely still very close. No one's found a critical loose, no major divergences other than kind of the Mirage versus Earth 1 play.
Yep. As Spider MBI in chat pointing out, the big thing was getting the Zeus Gauntlet for Cheezinator early, which has helped him a lot by giving him a reliable sweep.
Yeah. Currently, magic-wise, we've only found levels 1 and 2, as well as some 5 and 7.
And 8.
Yeah. So we have no real sweepers available to us. Our best is Quake, and we have found Cure 4. We do have level 1 Exit, though, and Brack, and Invis 2, so we're in pretty good shape, white magic-wise.
Yeah, the problem is that black magic has been lacking, and unfortunately it's going to continue to lack until we get a floater.
And here we go, Crabcakes opens the bottle!
Well, that's another turn-in.
Yeah, so a few reasons to head back into the Inner Sea, as we now have the Adamant and the bottle.
So, from where you are, you're kind of like equidistant between going back to turn in the Adamant or going to turn in that bottle. Which do you think you go to first?
I would probably turn in the bottle first, and the reason is because that's going to be the last time I go to Gaia, versus if that bottle turns into the key, I would want that key for dwarves, but...
Not only that, but if that bottle turns into the floater because of where Gaia is right now at, I believe, Crescent Lake? Oh no, it was at Melmond. Never mind, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
None of this mattered. All of that made more sense when in my head Gaia was in, when Gaia was in Crescent Lake in my head. That made sense, but it's not.
Well, they are right next to each other, so there is a very valid point to decide, but I think this decision's pretty clear. You go to Gaia first, because if it's the key, you avoid having to go back into dwarves, versus if, dwarves is the key, well great, you just open the chests. So there's no real incentive to go to dwarves over Gaias. You're not going to find anything in dwarves that make you want to go to Gaia next.
Instead ruby, we find a ruby, which makes us want to go the other way, away from dwarves.
Yeah, and that's going to be the exact same logic. Do I turn in the Adamant or the ruby? Well, first off, the ruby is 2 turns in when you don't have the floater. And second off, it could also, again, lead to the key. So we're going to head straight over to the ruby, let the troll? I don't know what to call him. Titan. The Titan's Trove. Let the Titan nom 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 on that ruby and give us access to both Sarda and the Titan's Trove check. Now, Sarda, usually not accessible until you've defeated the vampire, is accessible as we do have the early Sarda flag on. So we will be able to get 2 key items here.
Yep, and that's yet another reason why we go turn in the ruby right now instead of going over to dwarves. This is 2 key items instead of just 1.
So Cheezinator, kind of following in CC's footsteps, as we mentioned before, the key difference is he has checked Matoya and he has checked Earth 1, versus Crabcake's a little bit ahead and has checked Mirage, Floor 1 and 2. Now, no one's really found anything that important, and at this point, that means that we either have some Oxyale shape progression or key shape progression in one of these 3 incentive checks, or
we get a crystal and a flame shield. Flame shield's nice. Crystal is yet another turn-in.
Yeah. Or we have the floater loose in Earth 2 or Earth 3, and that is kind of a hilarious option.
Ooh, yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, so the Flame Shield and the Ice Armor are actually a really nice combination, as they both grant different resistances and you can wear them together, so that's going to be a really nice hand-me-down package to the Ninja.
It certainly is. Oh, hey, there's some Oxyale shape progression.
Yeah, so the Oxyale opens up a really interesting option where the runners can decide to go into C and check Mermaids for all the chests there, or they can go into left side C and check Kraken side first. Now, both of these options have a lot of chests available, and these runners, as we've mentioned, are still looking for 3 loose, so I would expect Crabcakes to probably, after doing the Adamant and Crystal turn-in, go hit up Vanilla on-rack, which is, in this case, also on-rack.
Yeah, and normally, we've been talking about how bad black magic has been. That actually isn't the case when it comes to taking on Kraken. We have Brack, and that can take out Kraken pretty easily.
Not only that, Cheezinator has that Zeus Gauntlet, which is in Earth, so that's going to be a really... He's actually got basically everything you could want. Well, not everything, but enough of what you could want between Invis 2, the Zeus Gauntlet, as well as Brack to take on, an early Earth dive, or early Sea dive. So,
unfortunately, that Adamant only turning into the Opal, which is amazing armor, but it's not the progression you're hoping for at this point in the seed.
yeah, so that Opal armor basically solidifies Crabcake's late game armor for basically everyone, actually. By body armor stands, we have the white shirt for the white wizard, we have the Opal bracelet for the black wizard, we have the dragon armor for the knight, and we have the ice or flame armor for the ninja. So we have basically best in slot armor for all of our characters already, and that's pretty nice.
Yeah, the only way it could possibly get better is arguably if you find a black shirt, simply because while it only has the absorb of a gold bracelet instead of the opal bracelet, it does give resistance to both ice and time magic.
Yeah, so that resistance trade-off is generally going to be worth it, as you're not usually going to be putting a ribbon on that black wizard when you have both the white wizard and the fighter to protect.
Yeah, and the protection from time magic is especially big because Zap is one of the big scary spells you can run into in the Temple of Fiends Revisited fights with the Revisited Fiends.
So kind of just, getting a few more shopping. I like this play by CC to just kind of do that quick shop, make sure you're set up kind of for the rest of the game. Canaria always guaranteed to have softs and pures, although not heal pots. So you can always go there to make sure that you have all those kind of critical healing items for the rest of the seed.
Yep, and it looks like Crabcakes is going to hoof it over to Matoya and see what that crystal turns into.
Yeah, CC did not want to bring back her thief. She was so upset about it that she basically reset the entire world to avoid it.
And the herb, so fetch quest, fetch chest, vanilla fetch quest.
So yeah, we're 30 minutes in, and we've got a fair number of our fetch quests, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We have 5% EXP gain per key item on, so early fetch quests, always nicer than late game fetch quests, other than the fact that you had to hoof it everywhere instead of, flying your airship. But that extra EXP gain will be very helpful, especially for Sisu, whose party is still like around 8 or so. And I mean, I don't think Cheezinator is much higher. So they're both kind of making the more experienced move to get in a bunch of key items before they take any sort of fight.
Absolutely, and both of these runners like to do what we refer to as a walking grind, where rather than standing somewhere and using a spike tile to gain levels, they like to take fights as they come and grab XP where they can. And the more key items you have, the easier it is to do that walking grind. Yeah.
Famous places for the walking grind are, taking a quick Peed fight like Cheese did, taking a number of encounters when you're clearing Sky 1 and Sky 3, as well as just basically killing a bunch of mobs in C. A lot of the mobs in C are going to give pretty good experience if you have a nice sweeper. That's not going to be Crabcake's plan unless she goes to Earth, but...
Ooh, Power Gauntlet. That is also a fantastic endgame item. It's also not progression.
Yeah, so the Power Gauntlet casts Saber. A lot of people think it casts Temper, but it casts Saber, which does very, very similar things to Temper, and it's going to basically also help secure your late game. So between the armor they have, the white shirt, the ribbon, they're in very good position to go into Topher with opening very few chests at this point. All they're really lacking is a late game sword, and both of these runners know that they'll be opening enough chests. However, at this point I believe that means that we're on the loose hunt for something.
We certainly are. We still have Ice Cave to check, and I imagine that's what Crabcake is going to do, considering she just stopped at Melmon to buy Warp.
Yes, so Warp, a really good way to speed up Ice Cave. Exit also will work well, but Warp allows you to check the incentive location basically immediately.
Cyan Vio in chat asking if Saber is better or stronger than Temper. It, I believe, buffs your attack power by the same amount, but also increases your hit % chance. So if you have a particularly evasive target, it makes you more likely to hit.
Yes, at a very, very low level, but most party members will actually get up to max evade by the time, max hit percentage. So that is why, for most functional reasons, Temper and Saber will do very similar things. That's why you need lock, and that's why we have lock fixes on, to make sure that you can, instead of trying to increase your hit, which cannot go above 255, instead try and decrease their evade.
It looks like Crabcakes is going for loose hunting in the armory in the volcano. Can't blame her, we haven't found any loose yet, and this is an extremely chest-dense area.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see if we find anything here. Checking these like top left hairpin chests.
Whole bunch of cash.
We'll have to see where Cheezinator goes next. Now, this volcano play is very common over Earth when you're only level 8. We were talking about Warp and how she bought it on purpose. However, her Black Mage does not have enough levels to cast it yet, with it being level 5. So she's trying to just get, a few levels here just to get that first charge of Warp, which is all she'll really need, because between Warp and Exit, they'll be able to get out very quickly.
Yeah, and she'll want to get out very quickly, considering that fighter's been knocked down. Luckily, these red bones are, well, cooperating a little bit, but she did find a mage stick, so she's finally got a sweeper that's somewhat reliable.
Yeah, so a mage stick casts...
damage poison. That's not gonna help your black mage stay alive and learn spells.
Yeah, so she's going to be resetting out of this almost certainly after she checks a few more chests for information. But the Zeus Gauntlet and the Mage Stick, casting Lit 2 and Fire 2 respectively, are actually a pretty good combination. It's going to let you get out of a lot of fights. Obviously, the third level elemental spells are much better, but these level 2 ones will do in a pinch, especially in the earlier dungeons like Earth and Volcano.
Apparently, she liked what she found well enough that she has chosen to exit out rather than reset out, and is going to sail back to bring her party members back to life.
Yeah, this may also be her making an adjustment to decide that she's going to go to Ice next instead of go deeper into Volcano. So I'll be curious to see what the plan is for CC at this point.
Meanwhile, Cheezinator doing the exact same thing, heading into the Volcano Armory. Getting jumped by some Argoyles.
Yeah, and Cheezinator has made the decision that his thief has lived for long enough, purposely putting him in the first slot with no armor. That's basically, literally putting him out there to die. Poor thief.
You've performed your necessary service, now you can spend some time counting rock.
And then we'll bring you up in time so you can take a punch from Kraken. And maybe Tia. And maybe Chaos. Thank you for your service. Being a thief sucks.
Certainly does. And our bones also have trance as well as damage poison.
And this is going to be a... Okay, there we go.
Yep, that's a straight up wipe.
So trance, of course, being non-elemental is going to be impossible to resist except with some levels to increase your MDef. You have to kind of get lucky and just hope you run. But the thief being up is actually helpful for that, so hopefully Cheese's thief lives for a little bit longer to get out of there. But it looks like he's coming in on a different encounter cycle. So what he did here is, instead of power cycling and then burning off the encounters...
style is the problem.
Oh, I did not realize these were on the spike tile. Yeah, this is going to be a little unfortunate because they're also found an ice cave, and that's not something that's going to make that ice dive any better.
No, certainly not. That ice, you may get lucky and not run into him, but that's something you kind of gotta hope for at this point.
So Cheezinator walking... Okay, he's going to go check the hairpin chest, and then I would expect him to exit out. Especially if he takes these peds out to get a few more levels.
Ooh, yeah, 4 peds, that's fantastic XP. Unfortunately, none of them being nice enough to fall into a crack.
Yeah, but they'll eventually fall into a, thundered mess, but they can have a decent amount of HP.
They certainly can, and it looks like Crabcakes does want to go deeper into the volcano.
She's initially going to check the 3 chests that are... Oh,
that's a find!
So let's talk about endgame equipment. CC just found the Masa in a relatively common check, but not necessarily going to be checked by everyone. But I fully expect Cheezinator to check that chest, as they have found 0 loose, and you're in Volcano anyways. That chest of the kind of quote-unquote hairpin chest is the fastest and quickest. The one just left to CC's screen right now is the slowest one. So if they're going to skip anything, they'll skip that one. But at the way that they're going right now with 0 loose found, I don't expect them to skip anything.
Now that's an interesting adjustment. Crab Cakes just went and put that Masa on the Black Mage and put the Silver Sword back on the fighter.
Yeah, so the Silver Sword, of course, and what we're talking about here is incremental improvements. So in the late game, you're going to want your fighter to swing the sword, as it's going to have more hits and therefore be able to use the higher damage and decent crit rate more effectively. However, in this case, the difference between the Silver Sword and the Masa is big, but the difference between nothing and the Masa is huge. So being able to have another effective melee swinger is going to help them clear mobs, especially because CC does not have that Zeus Gauntlet. She'd be probably making a different play if she had an AoE sweeper, but in this case she does not.
And there was nothing good in the hairpin check, so since most of her party was dead, she's reset out and re-grabbing that Masa.
And CC will probably be either going deeper or heading to ice, and it looks like she will. Actually, she hasn't showed us yet. Yeah, going deeper, so going down to the Agama floor, and that Masa actually does give you a shot at taking out Carrie.
Yep, you can throw that back on the fighter, and the fighter can take some big old swings at Carrie this early.
But it's still very sketchy, so I would not be surprised that if she finds progression on the Agama floor, which of course is named after the brilliant unit of EXP known as the Agama, which is found on that floor in the vanilla game. She may just exit out with the progression and leave Carrie till later. I had to get a quick check of the levels, because she could be at the point where like a single, or elemental AoE just takes her whole party out, and that's not something that she's going to want to risk.
Yeah, her levels are still fairly low. I'm not even sure she's hit double digits yet.
So both runners, kind of in the same path right now. Key differences, once again, CC's checked Mirage, and Cheezinator's checked Earth 1. But outside of that, they've checked all the same chests, and there we go. We have a loose slab. Now, that's not the item you're looking for, is it?
Actually, that's fine. I'll take that right now, because we have access to both Melman and Lefane. So...
correct.
So that's technically progression. Well, I mean, it might not be. It might be a Thor hammer, but it looks like progression. Ooh, getting ambushed by these Arbones might send Crab Cakes packing.
Yeah, almost certainly. Oh, and then gets tranced. Yeah, that's going to be a reset. Yes, good point on the slab. And we also had a thing in chat saying, CC with the 1 health heal run, I can guarantee you that she knows how long that hero run is, and is just going to stick with it, and she's not really at any risk. If it was me making that play, I would have just forgotten. But both CC and Cheezinator are more than good enough to know that, hey, I still have more steps on this hero run. I'm safe to be at 1 health and heal up when they need to.
Yeah, I'm absolutely a coward and would have healed up long before they did.
Okay, now does Cheezinator exit out, or does he take the spike tile? He knows that the Arbones are behind there. Oh, okay, he is not even going to try it. He's just going to leave that chest.
And considering he already wiped to them, whereas Crab Cakes got lucky last time, I'm not too surprised that he noped out of checking that chest.
Yeah, if you're deciding that you're going to come back and fight Carrie at a different time, you can always check it later. Or if you're going to leave it, you know what? Sometimes you have to gamble. This is a casino-themed tournament, after all.
Yep, but definitely want to come back and grab that slab, because that's progression.
Yeah, so CC also making that decision to skip out on that chest. Both runners are going to clear the rest of the Agama floor, and then we'll have to see if either of them decides to go check the Red Dragon chest, which is the one chest on the Carrie floor, which is the bottom floor of this dungeon, and if they want to take on Carrie. I think Carrie is within the doable range, but not in the 100% doable range, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a 60-40% chance we can take on Carrie at the current levels with a Masa.
So maybe we'll get some better guesses in chat from our other experienced runners there, but that's kind of where us as comms are feeling. I would probably try it, but I wouldn't blame you if you exited out. Now, if you had not found progression, I would try it 100%, because there's nothing really to lose. But with that slab, it's a little bit of a pain if you keep dying. At the same time, with the long run and the fact there's so few encounter steps, getting back to it isn't so bad. So...
Cheezinator's going right for it. Does not care at all. And, ooh, that was a lot of hits on that Black Mage.
Yeah, so adjusting with the Invis 2 strats, the White Mage does survive, though, and Carrie has no HP, so gets the win.
Awesome.
I do not believe Cheezinator checked the red dragon chest though, and Crabcakes is about to. So
Spider
if Crab,
please.
yeah, so if Crabcakes can get away from this or mage stick them down, we are going to see a chest that Cheezinator is very, very, very unlikely to see for a long time. So if this is something important, this could be huge.
Certainly could. Let's see what's on this spike tile. Oh, just a Chimera. Not a big deal.
Yeah, I think something that should have probably factored into our adjustments with carry is that, yes, you know, the Black Mage stood at the top and got punched down real bad, but also this fighter has pretty good armor at this point, so even if carry was swingy, it was very unlikely she was just going to one-shot our back row fighter.
That's a very good point. Yeah, we have got fantastic armor on this fighter, so that does make carry significantly easier to take on.
Yeah, your effective HP, especially because also getting those elemental resists, just making everything a lot safer. And here we go, Crabcake's also making the decision to go take on carry.
And, you know, speaking of, you know, choices and how things can affect you and how a wipe at the wrong place can change things around, Cheezinator got out of the volcano and is now the first person to have translated the slab. This is the first time we're seeing Cheezinator do something first since he checked Matoya's chests first.
Yeah, Crabcake's having to go back to Crescent Lake and then back into Volcano. Well, not an incorrect play for where she was, did cost her some time, and that allowed Cheezinator to come into the lead. Exploration-wise, there's still, you know, just a difference. I would say that the Mirage check took longer, so there's a little bit of advantage there, but both runners still very even.
That's a key for that slab, which when you're still in the inner sea is a whole lot of free checks when we're still looking for 2 loose items, one of which could be the floater.
Absolutely, this is a really nice pickup, something that you really want to see actually when you're searching for a loose item. Carry giving CC a bit of a hard time. Now I like this using hold, so carry actually is weak to the status element, and that makes the hold spell effective against carry, which will give you a turn of reprise.
Yep. And she manages to make it past carry with all 3 of her party members standing, getting levels on all of them, which is great.
Yeah, so Tyrannex asking in chat, both have avoided ice. Yes, both runners have not gone to ice at this point, but we will see if Crabcakes decides to go there first, like before going to turn in the slab. She does have warp. I do not know if she has the levels yet to cast it, but no, looks like she's going to make the same play that Cheezinator is, and both runners, you know, just kind of holding hands throughout the seed for the most part.
Yeah. Cheezinator found the Sun Sword at Corneria Keylocked, which would be exciting if we didn't already find the Masa.
Yeah, the Sun Sword kind of the scrape in the bottom of the barrel of what you're willing to go into Topher with, but definitely a great mid-game sword if we didn't already have, you know, the best sword in the game. Sword memes, please stay away, but the Masa is the best sword in the game.
It's definitely the hardest hitting sword base.
Crabcake's about to translate her slab, while Cheezinator's going to finish off the remainder of his key locks. We'll see if he goes into Temple of Fiends. There are 3 chests there that are key locked that are not immediate checks for all runners.
Yeah, if he was gonna go check those, I'm a little surprised he didn't route it in with Corneria. Oh, it looks like he decided to go up to the dwarf thing and save there. That way he can reset back. Well, no, he's saving outside Temple of Fiends as well. Never mind.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting play, but I guess he didn't want to take a wipe. But I probably would have done that, actually. It looked like he was saving specifically so that he could reset if he busted out. But
I wonder if that was his plan, and then this just happened to be muscle memory. I'm going into a dungeon to save, but who knows?
yeah, we may see a temporary like reset. He's like, oh, I got nothing. I'm going to reset out. And then he's like, oh, I'm in front of Toph. Okay, whatever. Guess I'm walking back.
Luckily, the spike tile here, while unrunnable, is pretty easy to get past.
Yeah, and both runners really showing us, you know, how item magic is helpful. Having the mage stick, as well as the Zeus gauntlet, both putting in serious work here.
3 pro ring and 24 gold. Absolutely nothing of worth. Considering we've already loaded up on pro rings due to how cheap they were.
And just of note, if you've played some other seeds, Canaria Castle Locked is not an incentive location in this seed. The incentive locations are the fetch quests, the main key item locations, as well as Ordeals, Ice Cave, and then, well, it's not technically a location, Waterfall, as well as Titan's Trove.
Yep. And we're back on track now. Crab Cakes did not go up to the Temple of Fiends Revisited, so they're just about synced going in to check key-locked dwarves.
And we did get some hoorays, so get your hoorays in chat.
Yep. And it's just money and heal potions. Which Crab Cake, she's like, nuts to that.
So unless we see something soon, and by soon I mean before, neither runner I doubt is going to go into Marsh. Unless we see something soon in these key locks, I anticipate a C play coming from one, if not both of these runners.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like that.
I think Crab Cakes may be a little bit hesitant to go into Sea Shrine because of her lack of AoE sweeper. Mage Staff casting Fire 2 turns out, just like Pokemon, Fire not super effective against water. You do not want to be casting Fire 2 against the Arsaheg Wizaheg pack. But Cheezinator, with the little bit of an edge he has, which is that Zeus Gauntlet, I think C's a lot more enticing. So I would anticipate that that's going to be Cheese's next play, but I'm curious to see what Crab Cakes does.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Crab Cakes makes a different decision. After all, neither of them have gone to the incentivized Ice Cave yet.
Yeah, and Cheezinator could very well also go to the incentivized Ice Cave, but with the way that he's routed his boat, this is making me think he's going to head down to Onrak next, like choosing to go out of the Inner Sea, so that way he can head south. Or he just wants to be outside of the Inner Sea so he can go to Ice Cave from the outside dock, and then head somewhere else afterwards, rather than being stuck on the Inner Sea.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like if you find, Bupkis in the Ice Cave, then you want to be outside the Inner Sea so that you can just go.
Yeah.
And that does appear to be the direction he's going, is towards Ice Cave from the outside.
Yeah, this is something that would be an absolute no-brainer in the Swiss rounds, because incentive items are almost always good. However, in this Swiss round, this is much more likely to be a loot, or a rod, or a cube, or I guess a Thor hammer, which is pretty good for CC at this point, than it is to be your floater, which is kind of what both runners are looking for at this point.
Yep. Floater still not technically required, but likely needed and likely wanted, because we've got that dragon armor we'd love to be able to equip.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to be floater locked in the seed is going to be Crescent Lake, which just has the one incentive check. And if that is, at this point, just the Thor hammer, actually, this will be floaterless. But if that's anything else, the floater will be required.
It could also be Crown leading to Thor hammer.
Yes. Oh, and also it could be the vendor item, because we haven't found the vendor item yet either. So there's still a number of things that could make floater required.
Yeah, it's most likely at this point that the floater is required simply from that respect. The fact that we haven't seen the vendor item yet, and the only two things that could possibly... I think actually we are at floater required at this point, aren't we?
Yep, I was just doing the head logic as well, and between the sages and the shop item, which are both going to be floater locked, the floater will be required, and it could be this ice incentive location, but it is most likely going to be loose.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And yep, Cheezinator making the dive into ice. Meanwhile, Crab Cakes out on the open sea.
Yeah, and I really do anticipate that Crab Cakes will make the ice play, though I've been extremely wrong on my calls so far, so we'll have to see. I just think C is very dangerous without an AoE, lit sweeper.
Yeah, absolutely. I would, even an ice sweeper would be nice, because since, waters are weak to ice instead of weak to... Oh, hey, something over there turned the fighter to stone on Cheese's side.
Luckily, I believe he has a few softs, but yeah, hopefully chat will point out what that was. I wasn't sure whether it was a stone touch or, a stone poison. And
yeah, Crab Cake's heading over to ice just behind Cheezinator.
Danny3883 pointing out in chat, did any runner check the caravan earlier? Yes, the caravan was checked. So the vendor item is confirmed to be either in Elfland or Crescent Lake.
There's that crown I was just talking about.
Okay, so that means we need to get out of here because we still have no idea if that's going to be what we're looking for.
What we're looking for is a marsh cave.
Oh no. Don't wish that upon these runners. If they listen back to this and it is in Marsh Cave, no one's going to be happy. If you're not so familiar, Marsh Cave is not something notorious for having to go in early when you're underleveled and unwanted, and having to pull a canal or something out of there, and it's just a nasty place.
Cheezinator pulling a Bane sword out of these upper left chests on the lowest floor of Ice Cave.
Yeah, so kind of providing a third option for an AoE sweeper. The Bane Sword going to be effective against a number of enemies, as well as just providing an insta-kill option for things which have high health, but no resistance to poison and no poison resist. Oh, low MDef, sorry. No resistance to poison and low MDef.
Things like, Tiamat. Oh, Crab Cakes also getting turned to stone.
Yeah, luckily
Ooh,
with
this
that
double fighter tile is a great tile to get some XP.
Yeah, you're gonna definitely take this once. Ooh, those are pretty low HP. That was like about 110, 120 HP.
Yeah, and yeah, like 4,000 XP at this point. Like that's fantastic to see.
Yeah, I think the playstyle of both these runners though is that they Cheese might take it one more time or so, but then after that he'll probably nope out of it. Yeah, so he's going to take it at least once more, maybe a few more times, but neither of these runners really in any mood to do a big stationary grind. Greggly Puff in chat pointing out a fighter tile, let's go grinding, our black belt expert, but neither of these runners running a black belt and unlikely at this point to, grind this up to 24 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, especially if they're hoping to get some, like maybe that Cure 2 or Cure 4 onto their fighter when it, class changes.
Yeah, so what do you mean by that, Dr. Funkin?
So, when a fighter grows up and becomes a knight, it can start to learn magic. However, it only learns magic. It doesn't get charges right away. It gets charges on odd number levels starting at level 15. So, until like the more levels you gain before you class promote, the harder it is for your promoted character to get spell charges.
Yeah, so just another reason why we'll often see these runners want to do walking grind rather than like a stationary grind in the early game. Also, the key item EXP boost also kind of incentivizes that. So unlikely to see these runners want to go much higher than like 20, as that will get you through a lot of the early game, and then try and get those last 4 levels once you promote and are kind of in go mode, maybe clearing out Sky.
Yep, and Crab Cakes took that fight once and is moving, just like we said, walking grind all the way for her.
So we got 3 chests left in ice, and then we'll have to see where these runners go next. And yep, so we just have the crown, and the crown of course could lead to the floater. The crown could lead to the rod, which unlocks the bottom part of Earth. The crown could lead to the cube, which makes Sky fully clearable. Or it could lead to the loot, or the Thor hammer, which is not going to be progression, although is important to win the game in the case of the loot.
Yep, very much the case. So it'll be interesting to see where we go from there.
Yeah, this race is just so neck and neck. Like, these runners are minutes apart, holding each other's hands, and just really showing us that at a very high level of execution and decision making, you can end up with very similar paths and seeds, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We'll have to see though. I really do believe one of the key elements right now is the fact that Cheezinator has a way to get through C, while Crab Cakes will struggle against those large packs. She can get through at this point with the levels she's at, but it'll just be very slow, and that could lead to a big time loss. Well, Cheezinator, I think C is extremely enticing if this does not lead into something.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that bolt caster does make life a lot easier for that, and that is a rod, which opens up Earth as an option as well. So that may actually be a split that happens, where Cheezinator, it's a little more enticing to go to C, Whereas Crabcakes might see that rod, not have a good way to get through C, and does Earth first instead.
And actually, that's exactly what I was about to say, because I think the fact that Crabcakes hasn't checked the top floor of Earth makes Earth have more chests. Not more chests than C overall, but more chests than what Cheezinator would think, which is that I've already checked the top floor. That eliminates a few of the chests from the pool. Why would I go back to Earth? Whereas Crabcakes, who's never visited Earth, is going to have more incentive to go visit Earth early.
Absolutely. And, let's see, what is Cheezinator doing at this point? I'm guessing restocking items? Or has he not turned in his bottle yet?
Oh, that's really interesting if he hasn't turned in his bottle yet.
Oh, he must have turned in his bottle and just forgot.
Okay, he was coming here for the clinic. No life magic available yet. And we are going to be seeing him leave... Oh, go to... no, he's burning off encounters. I still anticipate this to be C, but...
He's
nope,
going
he's
to
going
Earth.
to Earth. Oh, wow. So Earth... one of the key differences between Earth and C, so this is actually, a bit of an interesting decision. So C has a very different style than most of the other dungeons. It splits, and you can completely win the game without ever going to the right side of C, which is what we call Mermaids. Now, Mermaids has a high number of chests, but if you can skip it entirely while the other runner does it, that can be really, really bad for you. So if you go to C, you're basically committing to having to do Mermaids unless you do Crack Inside first and find Floater. By doing Earth first, if he finds a few loose items here, he can potentially skip Mermaids when he goes there later. Now, the downside of this is that Earth has a slower full clear compared to how quick the go mode of it is. So if you can avoid full clearing Earth, you want to do so, as the chests, as you can see, are really out of the way. So there's definitely an interesting trade-off to be made here. Now, I think Cheezinator could have gone either way, but I very much anticipate that Crabcakes will be making the Earth play, just because I think C is really, really hard for her to get through at this point.
Yeah, well, we will see. Looks like she's also coming to use the clinic real quick.
The slowest clinic in the world. This and the inn at Crescent Lake are just like, oh my goodness, I'm still walking? Are we there yet?
What are you talking about? The inn at Crescent Lake is amazing. It's like 2 steps when you come in. Are you talking about Provoca?
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about Onrak. The beautiful...
yes, that one takes forever.
Yeah, the one in Onrak. It's the most beautiful place. If you're going to live somewhere in Final Fantasy, you want to live in Onrak. It's by the water, there's mermaid people if that's a positive for you. But, man, that inn is beautiful, but you do not want to walk there.
No, not at all. It takes 8 years to get there. Oh, hey, a katana. That's a fantastic find if you're going to actually promote and level up your ninja.
So the katana, yeah, only equipable by the ninja, but it has a higher base damage than the Vorpal while having a similar, if not identical, crit rate. So identical. So a really good weapon for the late game, as that high crit rate lets you cut through high absorb beams.
Edgeworth in chat pointing out that Onrag does in fact kill you with property taxes. That's where they get you.
So
Crabcake finding that Zeus gauntlet.
Yep, and that's going to really help us. This will probably, if there's nothing here, it's probably going to funnel both runners into C, and Cheezinator's kind of advantage going through C will now be negated.
My money's still on Marsh at this point.
Oh, man.
Being where that floater is.
You just keep saying that. These poor runners. This is a very high-stakes race. We are in the semifinals.
All the more reason for it to be there.
So far, a katana, definitely a nice find, but nothing, game-breaking or essential. In Earth 2, and Cheezinator currently clearing out Earth 3, will he check TFC Earth? And it looks like he will. This is, once again, not surprising, but this is a lot of steps for a single chest.
Yep. This is, again, part of that reason you talked about earlier, how spread out the chests are, making it such a pain to try and full clear Earth when you may not have to.
And it's a heal pot.
Ooh, no.
Okay,
yeah, well, I expect that they would both go to C after this. Personally, if it were me, I would probably check Marsh just because of proximity. Plus,
Yeah,
I've got the key, and I can check the key locks if necessary.
Yeah, that's a really interesting decision. You could go to Marsh just because it's there, but C is very enticing as you will be able to get
just a stupid amount of chests, and even if what you want isn't there, you can still lighten orb, which is progression. Whereas Marsh, if there's nothing there, there's nothing.
Man, you took the words right out of my mouth. That is exactly 100% correct.
Crab Cake's having to deal with a huge pack of wolves.
Werewolves, although their color palette, a little bit similar as actually as they normally are.
Yep. And Cheezinator coming up on the vampire, who rumor has it was a boss at one point.
So 1 hour into this seed, we have runners in the same dungeon, one floor apart, with basically equal progression. This is quite a race we have on our hands right now.
Yeah, and the fact that they're only one floor apart actually speaks a lot to how fast Crab Cakes is as a runner, considering she did the extra check of sailing all the way to Mirage, clearing out the first both floors of the Mirage Tower, and coming back.
Yeah, and that is the difference in exploration, but if Cheezinator ends up go-moding Sky, that exploration quote-unquote lead won't matter, as there was really nothing there.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that exploration that she didn't end up paying off. And because it didn't end up paying off, and she's now still only, like, a floor or two behind Cheezinator, that just speaks to how fast she's moving through this scene.
Yeah, definitely. So we're about an hour in. So for those of you who are just joining us, I'm Jad. I'm joined in the booth by Dr. Funkin, tracking tonight done by Duchess for Kaisama. So thank you very much, Duchess. We are here on Speed Gaming 1, bringing you the semifinals of the Final Fantasy Randomizer 2020 Spring Tournament. This is game 1 of a best of 3 between two of our top runners, as you can see by the show they're putting on tonight. We had a draft, which you can see in front of you, where we have a White Mage Fighter, Black Mage, and Thief. And both runners kind of being put through a little bit of a search to try and find a very elusive floater. We found the canal early in the Dwarf Cave, which opened up the rest of the game, and then we found the canoe in... early.
Yeah, we found the, well, I imagine if we check the lovely notes that our tracker...
Yeah, we found the canoe relatively early, and that allowed us to explore a number of incentive dungeons. We cleared out all 3 incentive dungeons, but unfortunately the Tri-State has struck once again, and we are still searching for the floater. So the floater is going to be required for the seed, and neither runner knows where it is. And both runners currently clearing out Earth, and that is kind of where we got through at this point. Oh right, Bicky had it. He upgraded his ship for the canoe.
That's right, it was Bicky. That was a really loaded room that Cheezinator found. It had an ice sword, the Vorpal, and a ribbon in the last 3 chests of Earth.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the progression you wanted. It turns out that Earth was the wrong play, because the right play is Marsh, like I've been saying this whole time. Kidding. And, but it's still great equipment, potentially. Like, if we have a really evasive Chaos, you might want that Vorpal instead of the Masa.
Yeah, not only that, the second ribbon is really what you're looking for this type of party. That's going to allow you to have a ribbon on your fighter and a ribbon on your White Mage throughout Topher, and that's just going to make things so much safer.
Yeah, the only reason you might throw that ribbon on, say, the Black Mage instead is if you find the Aegis shield, because we've got the Pro Ring and we've got the Dragon Armor, you've almost got an entire ribbon just from that equipment. Yeah,
we call it the Knight Virtual Ribbon, as the Dragon Armor provides 3 elemental resistances, the Aegis shield provides poison resist, and then the Pro Ring provides death resist. So you're going to have 5 out of the 8 resistances that you need.
And Lich went ahead and fell into a crack, getting quaked, just like you like to just like you want to draw.
Happy birthday to Lich. Here's a cake.
Turns out he's allergic.
Yeah, I don't think skeletons take food very well. That's why they fall into a crack immediately. And Cheezinator heading to C. C or Mirage are these two options as he heads into the northern continent by going south. The Final Fantasy map does loop around, so spoiler warning: the Earth isn't flat.
Yeah, he's going to C. What are you talking about? Everything's flat. This is a 2D game.
That is very true, very true. Now, there's kind of some wisdom in Final Fantasy that I've been hearing from some of the more veteran runners, which is that if you need one loose, you do Kraken side first. If you need more than one loose, you do Mermaid side first. So we'll have to see what Cheezinator decides here. I think he'll probably do Mermaid side first, as we're still looking for 3 loose, and 2 of them are going to be required, and one of them is the floater. So all that adds up.
2 loose. We found the loose slab.
Oh, right, 2 loose left. But one of them is the loose floater, which is required. So we'll have to see, though, if he decides to do Kraken side first or do Mermaid side first.
And that was level 7 Fade in White Magic at On-Rack. Missed that earlier.
And he is doing Mermaids first.
Yeah, just with the chest density, plus you don't have to worry about skipping TFC because you've already got the key, it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and do this while you got 2 loose items out.
Yeah, not only that, Mermaids, the floor itself has no encounters, which makes it a lot quicker. Okay, so Cheezinator's doing a strat that I've seen a number of times as well, which is that he's going to check the bulk of the Mermaid's chests, but skip C2. And then he's going to exit out, do Kraken side, and if he still hasn't found what he's looking for, he can come back and check the chests on C2. Cece, meanwhile, just kind of finishing out Earth. Those are the last chests for her to check, and she's going to be on to Lich, and we'll have to see if she makes Lich eat cake as well.
Yep, she was, there's the second katana in the, Mermaids.
And we have timed that, and it is slightly faster to warp from that chest than it is to walk back.
I would figure it's significantly faster to warp back, because that is such a long walk.
So far, nothing in Mermaids, though. 3 chests left. 2 chests left.
One more chance before this floor turns out to be a whammy. Well, if Cheezinator doesn't have all his pro rings yet, I guess that's not nothing.
And checking C2 on the way out. We'll have to see if he checks the other chests, as those are quite out of the way. But okay, looks like he's going to do that with warp and exit here.
And Crabcake's also making Lich eat cake.
Yeah, Quake not super effective against Lich or anything, but Lich just has very low M def, especially Lich 1, so Quake a reasonably effective insta-kill way to take that skeleton fella out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is against Lich 1. I believe it's 16% to work against Lich 2.
Yeah, I think it's in like the low 30s or so, but we'll get something in someone in chat to fill us in.
And Crabcake's also heading down to C from the look of it.
Yeah, with that Zeus Gauntlet in hand, she should have no major issues getting through any of this. Ooh, except that was where one of the Sahags had Cremate, which is not super lethal, especially with 2 ribbons, but it's just going to be very annoying.
Even not being super... Was it the Wiz Sahags or the Red Sahags that had? Because if it's the red ones, that could be a problem, just because of how many of them can cast.
Yeah, I didn't catch what... I glanced over, I saw Cremate and Sahag, so... and our tracker pointing out it was the Arsahags, so that is not the answer that our runners were looking for, although perhaps for chat that is hilarious.
It's definitely a little funny. Not as funny as it's gonna be when it turns out that the floater was in Marsh this whole time.
So Cheezinator finishes clearing out right side of C, and gonna head over to left side, using the warp strats there, checks this one chest, and then is going to go down to meet our kind of, octopus friend.
Crabcake's also going ahead and doing Mermaid side first.
Oh! Oh! Sea snakes have nuke.
Oh, nuclear snakes! That's something Cheezinator hasn't run into yet.
And that's also just so awful for the... I believe sea snakes are on the seafloor in Topher as well. And that's just, like, not something that you want to see at all.
Well, we might want to as spectators, but it's definitely not what you want to see as a runner.
Yeah, and that was right away, right off the bat, and we don't know how common it is, but even if it's only, you know, a 20% chance, that's not something that you want to see if you're these runners.
Not even a little bit.
So Crabcake's also electing to not open the chest on C2 to begin with. We'll have to see if she takes the same route, or if she decides to do Kraken side first and come back for C2.
Oh, there's Cheezinator finding out about the bad news about the nuclear snakes.
Yeah, so I guess that does make the decision to go into Earth first a little bit nicer, but at this point, just chest density-wise, considering what we've seen, C is still probably the most... I guess Marsh probably has a few more chests than just left side, but C is still a good chance to have the progression we're looking for.
Marsh as a whole might, but they're also significantly more spread out than the left side of C is.
Yeah, left side C has two relatively free checks, and then everything else just kind of clustered on one floor. Reese asking in chat, did CC not kill Lich? CC did kill Lich. Both runners gave Lich the cake.
Yeah, it just hasn't popped up on the tracker.
But we are an hour and 50 minutes into this race between two excellent runners.
There it is.
And the floater is in a absolutely free chest there. At this point, there's one loose item left, and there's one bonk item left. So not opening chests is going to be a little bit of a gamble, but it looks like it's one that Cheezinator is willing to make. As at this point, we could just find the vendor item and the Crescent Lake item being the cube and the loot, and we are in go mode. However, if one of those two items is the Thor Hammer, both of these runners are going to be hunting for one remaining loose.
Yeah, that's not a gamble that I would be willing to make. When you still need two items to be in go mode, and one of them could be loose, yeah, I'm not willing to make that gamble.
Yeah, it's definitely a trade-off. Both runners have also left behind. Cheezinator's left behind 2 chests in Volcano. Crabcakes has only left behind a single chest in Volcano. But other than that, both runners have been fairly thorough. Cheezinator's probably also knows that there is Sky still available, and maybe looking to full clear that, or clear out all the, kind of bigger chest groups in Sky and Mirage, rather than taking the time here in C, and just betting that even if he needs a loose, it's going to be in Sky. Sky provides.
That's true. In general, Sky does provide. It's done so quite a bit in these bracket flags.
Ooh, this 5 Ghost Pact. Very lethal. CC has to hope there's no backlining.
Even the front lining's going real tough. Hans took a huge beating there. And those ghosts are not dead yet.
Ooh, and the fighter goes down, but luckily her exit caster's still up. 1 cast of harm, 3 remaining. Should be enough to get the job done.
Yeah. That's a lot of XP to funnel onto a white mage.
And the white mage gonna get the Masa, as Crowcates continues on to check the 1 remaining chest up here in the top.
White samurai strats, let's go.
We have a question in chat. We have not yet seen Temper. So Temper is either going to be level 3, 4, or 6, or else it's in one of the level 8 checks that we haven't seen. Meanwhile, Cheezinator going to go take on Kraken, and Kraken should not pose a particular threat to his party, but we'll have to see. We've already seen nuking sea snakes, which are by far the most dangerous thing in this dungeon.
Yeah, he could get one of those just a couple steps before Kraken and have to re-dive this whole dungeon.
Yeah, usually you're trying to dodge, the waters and the big lobster pack here, but in this case, everything in C, as long as it's not coming up snake, you're happy. So CC making a nice strategic adjustment here, bringing up the thief, knows that those nuclear sea snakes are so dangerous, wants to increase her run chance as much as possible, so bringing up the thief, who does have the highest run chance in the game.
And it immediately goes down to some cremate Red Sox.
Yeah, so at this point, we very well could have a life at level 3 or 4. If it's at level 3, it may be night learnable, which would make Topher a lot safer. But at the very least, the white wizard should be able to learn something once we get the floater and get into the air. Turn in the floater in this case. And yeah, in particular, our tracker pointing out that life was level 7, so particularly we're looking for life 2, which of course being the better of them, is what both runners are hoping to see in Elfland in slot 1, 3, or 4.
And the Zeus Gauntlet goes off for 147 damage, taking out Kraken, and Cheezinator's got 3 orbs lit, and has his floater, so he's ready to, hit the gas as best as he can. He's going to go check those last 2 towns, see if they have the items he needs, and he might be in go mode.
Yeah, and if this is go mode, this is going to be a very difficult, how to say this? It's going to be very difficult for Crabcakes to make up the time on Cheezinator if this is go mode, as the path to victory is very straightforward from this point. And when there's less decisions, and you have 2 excellent runners like we have here, making up time is very difficult, especially considering Topher is looking to be relatively safe. Now, relatively safe is by no means safe.
It's only got some nuke snakes in it. It's fine.
Fine.
So
there's still a lot of RNG that can get in their way. But at this point, I think if I'm Crabcakes, you're hoping that this is not go mode, so that way you can have that chance to make up that little bit of that minute or 2 that she's behind.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see here how this ends up.
And Crabcakes finding her floater, we'll have to see if she opens the rest of the chests here on C. That routing generally says that she will not. And nope, Crabcake's also just going straight up.
Yeah, she has even less loose boxes at this point than Cheezinator does, so it makes a little more sense from her standpoint.
Yep, so right now we have the very casino-themed coin flip, or 2 out of 3, that will one of these items be the... one of these 2 items that Cheezinator is about to check be the Thor hammer, or will they be the 2 items that we need? Loot? 1 for 2.
Yep. And now we find out, well, magic. Heal 2 at level 6 isn't bad. However, I believe that means that and level 6 nuke, you'd like to see that a little lower, but at this point, we'll take it. So that means level 3 or 4 is going to have life 2 at this point.
And the Thor hammer! So that does mean...
Oh, no!
Oh! And that is not the news that Cheezinator is looking for, because that means that the cube is going to be loose. And... Oh! We know it's not in Mirage, which is probably the next place that Cheezinator is going to be checking after he checks the Cardia Isles. So it's either going to be in the Cardia Isles, it's going to be in one of the chests they skipped, or it's going to be in...
Marsh!
So Cheezinator is going to class change, going to go check the Cardia Isles, because it very well could just be in one of these many chests here with our dragon friends.
Meanwhile, Crabcake's going ahead and bracketing the Kraken into several pieces.
And hold your breath, folks, because if we do not see a loose cube in the next few minutes here, oh boy, this is going to get spicy. Something that I did want to point out, actually, is that the Thor hammer was not exactly the odds I was giving it, because the shop item actually could not be the Thor hammer, just because we found all of our fetch items already, and that's a little bit unusual. If the shop item can be a fetch quest, and if it is, then that could turn into the Thor hammer. But the Thor hammer cannot be directly for sale. So they knew for sure that it was basically a 50-50. Here we go, Cheezinator checking the first of the Cardia Isles locations. Not what he's looking for there.
Money in a stick.
Swamp location, the grass location, I believe, has the most checks.
I thought it was the forest.
Oh, sorry, the fourth, the one that's left. Yes, the fourth location. And here we go.
Crabcake's also checking these Cardia Isles currently, and there's the loose cube. Oh, and that's it. So the good news is that means that Crabcakes is going to be like 30 seconds behind Cheezinator at this point.
Yeah, she still needs to promote and still will need to go buy that loot, but we're looking at a race that's just, minutes apart, not even a Topher wipe. And another interesting thing is that both of these runners are likely to enter Topher on that kind of run after the power cycle, after burning off a number of encounters, which means they could also be getting the exact same encounter table through Topher, unless one of them feels behind, in which case they might change it up. That means that if there is that nasty sea snake pack, they're either both going to run into it or both not. And if both of them run into it, we're going to have to see who gets that lucky run.
Yeah,
Wow.
or if they get an unlucky ambush, because Crabcakes did get ambushed by something with sea snakes while she was down there.
Wow, level 3 magic, absolutely stacked from a black magic perspective. We had Fire 3, Lit 3, and Temper, so lots of Temper charges available, very, very limited fast. And that also means that Life 2, going to be level 4, so that is good news for the White Wizard, but not so good news for the Knight, as unlike the Ninja, who can learn level 1, 2, 3, and 4 black magic, the Knight can only learn levels 1, 2, and 3, and limited at that, as they cannot learn slot 2 at level 1 and level 3.
Crabcakes gets her cube, doesn't even check the rest of the chest, exits out. She knows she's in go mode as soon as she finds that loot in Crescent.
Yeah, and actually something of note is that Lefane check was technically optional. Now, Temper and Life 2 optional, that's a little bit questionable, but CC could choose to skip that and make up a little bit of time there. We'll have to see if that's what she decides to do. I very much doubt it, as those are just like 2 huge spells for Topher safety, but...
Yeah, I doubt she's gonna skip that, considering she still hasn't seen Life 2 and still hasn't seen Temper.
Yeah, so a nice little adjustment here that CC made that I quite like is that she decided to promote before going to Crescent Lake, and the reason for that is because if Life 2 was in slot 2 in Gaia, or in Crescent Lake, which is in the Vanilla Gaia location, she would have been actually locked out of buying it. So promoting first gets rid of that chance of that occurring.
Yeah, it's one of those little optimizations that you don't think about unless you're a runner at this level.
Yeah, the trade-off is that if those were the cube and the loot in Crescent Lake, Vanilla Crescent Lake, or sorry, the Crescent Lake town in Vanilla Gaia, the Cardia Isle checks were going to be optional. So that could have been a potential time loss. So these little tiny micro decisions can really make a difference. And here we go, Cheezinator into Mirage, and unfortunately for CC, he is in, or Crabcakes, he is in go mode while he enters here, so she will not get back the time that she spent checking Mirage 1 and greater than less than on Mirage 2.
The only way she might get that time back is if, say, we run into like a real punchy Kraken 2, and having that white shirt makes the difference. Yeah,
that's a really good point. In the other thing about the white shirt is not only does it allow you to cast more casts, it also lets 2 people cast Invis 2 per turn, and that's actually really important against Kraken, as they do not have the defense sword, which means the best way to get your evasion up against Kraken 2 is going to be double Invis 2 casts, and that's something that CC will have access to, whereas Cheezinator will not, as putting the white shirt onto the Thief, not equipping it, but just having them carry it, is actually a really nice strategy to, like a really nice adjustment to make.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Crabcakes, only about a minute or so behind, about to head into Sky as well.
Yeah, and our fantastic tracker, Dutch, is pointing out once again that he'll also miss out on the Dragon Armor. So that virtual ribbon, not really going to be happening for Cheezinator, so much more likely to have to put his ribbon on the Knight. whereas CC may be able to go with a virtual ribbon on the knight, and then 2 ribbons on her 2 mages.
Yeah, at this point, she does still have the ribbon on her knight as well as the dragon armor, so we'll see if that changes or not.
Also, CC did find this T-Rex fight earlier, and deciding to take it here for a few levels, as both runners just slightly underleveled for what you would want for an initial Topher dive. You're looking at this level, early 20s, like 22, 23, ideally 24 by the time you get to Chaos for the extra swing of your Masa.
Yep. Cheezinator also took the T-Rex fight earlier.
So our runners, once again, like 3 floors apart. Cheezinator doing a very sane Sky foreplay, going left and then up. None of this upright madness.
Personally, I like to go left, down, left.
I like to go down, right. I don't know why.
Yeah, however, Cheezinator about to step onto the Bridge of Destiny. I already see Spider MBI's got a Bless RNG in chat, but if you want to see a robot chicken tonight, you get those Bless RNGs out in the chat, folks. Cheezinator running into a whole bunch of double fighter packs, which is going to be great for his underleveledness.
This is interesting. Okay, I was going to say, I saw Crabcakes using the Thor Hammer against that slime pack, and that was an odd decision, but she was also using the Mage Stick, so that makes a lot of sense. Slimes, they feel like they should be weak to lightning, but they're actually weak to fire, so you want to make sure you're going either with non-elementals or your Fire 2s and Fire 3s.
Cheezinator going ahead and nuking down this gigantic pack of sorcerers with Mud Goal.
Yeah, and I was going to say, this is a super nice fight for experience there. And there we go, hitting level 24.
Yeah, that's about the point where you start to feel comfy going into Topher.
At least for the first time. There are definitely Tophers that you do not win level 24. But it's going to be a lot of Tophers, and that's kind of what you're looking for, without spending a ton of time grinding. This is the infamous CC Gambit, checking these top 4 chests, named after Crabcakes. Not getting rewarded here, but she really likes that play, so if you see it, that's the Crabcakes Gambit. Also checking the 4 greed chests here, specifically, I believe, looking for the defense sword.
Yeah, that's another thing that could make a big difference. Neither of them have found the defense sword, which casts Ruse when used. Unlike Invis 2, which gives 1 stack of evasion to all of your party members, Ruse gives 2 stacks of evasion to a single party member.
Yeah, and that's going to make, you know, mostly man mode fights, so like solo fighter fights, if your mages wipe, a lot safer. It also lets you get 3 or 4 stacks of Invis onto your damage dealer in the Kraken fight, and that can be very important.
And it looks like we've gone and put the Masa on the White Mage for now, while Sun sorting around with the Knight on Crabcakes' side.
So
meanwhile, Cheezinator taking out Tiamat like it ain't no thing.
Yeah, Tia did not skip Arm Day, you know, just has beat up on her younger brother Kraken 1, is punched down that White Mage pretty good, but Cheezinator giving Tia the Brack, and gets through okay.
I almost had a heart attack that Crabcakes ran into an Iron Goal because of that palette swap on the Mud Goal, but it is just a Mud.
So get your Bless RNGs out in chat for Crabcakes about to enter the Bridge of Destiny. I haven't been paying enough attention to know if they're on the Insane Encounter table, but
they can't
for those,
because Crabcakes did the Gambit.
Right. So get your Bless RNGs out in chat. Here we go. We have a quick question in chat. Fractal Shadow asking this is the first match of the brackets. This is the first match of their round in the semifinals. So there was a round of 16 in the brackets and a quarterfinal. This is game 1 of the semis. Crab Cakes actually have a little bit more levels, it looks like, just slightly higher.
Yeah, I think she, nabbed an extra encounter thanks to the different step count. However, she's getting a huge hero run here on the bridge. And
our tracker pointing out that CC is roughly, in quotation marks, 2 minutes and 31 seconds behind in terms of when she changed floors. So, when you're at the 31-second mark, I don't know how rough that is, but that is a good estimation, and that means that she's going to be, about 2 fiends behind in 2 fiends, or maybe 3 fiends behind in Topher.
Cheezinator crashing into Vanilla Melmond, which is Gaia.
Yeah, showing his displeasure, but going for a unfortunate... okay, this is not unfortunate, actually. He has decided that he wants fast.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If he's at the level where he's got a charge of it, this is worth it.
And these revives and this shopping really going to make a difference, but if fast is the difference maker, once again. So that just lets CC make up, a good 30-40 seconds.
This is, of course, assuming that Crab Cakes doesn't go and try and get fast as well.
I don't think she checked that shop.
Good point. I think you're right. I don't think she did either. So I think she's just gonna pick up some heal pots and be done with it. Or maybe just save and be done with it.
Yeah, maybe she's out of houses? But yeah, she's going right into Topher, and we are floors apart. We have almost... Wow.
So yeah, apparently Crab Cakes wasn't quite as well prepared as she thought. Guessing she needs heal pots, and they weren't at Corneria.
Wow, this is a big cost here to go pick some stuff up, but I think she's going actually to pick up Cure 4 for her Knight, which is huge.
Actually, that's a really smart play.
Also gives us the lamp pickup. Oh, get your, whatever's out in chat. Crab Cakes has given us a lamp purchase in the semifinals of the spring tournament.
Looks like she's picking up Ice 3 as well.
So yeah, that Ice 3 was not Black Mage learnable, had to be promoted first, so that was not available for purchase earlier. So Crab Cake's basically giving Cheezinator the time back in shopping, and she ended up with Cure 4 on her Knight and Ice 3, whereas he ended up with Fast. I'm not sure, I didn't see him pick up Cure 4, though he might have while I was watching Crab Cakes finish off Tia.
She's actually made up about 1.5 minutes since the Sky Cave, because she's only coming in 1 minute behind Cheezinator, where she was 2.5 minutes behind before.
Yeah, our tracker having the exact times 59 seconds apart. So here we go. This is going to come down, and something that I compliment Crab Cakes on a lot, although Cheezinator is absolutely no slouch, so the difference is going to be smaller here, is just her decision-making and her menuing. She is able to get through Topher faster than pretty much anyone, and that can be a big advantage. But at the same time, the difference between her and the average runner is huge, but the difference between her and Cheezinator is very small, if any. So a big time save that could be just fast on Cheese's side, if this is a high absorb chaos or a high evade chaos. Using fast could make it so that his chaos fight is just that much faster, plus the little lead that he has. Honestly, it's going to come down to some luck and some good decision making at this point.
Yeah, you can't even say it's going to come down to encounter luck, because they're going to be going in on the same encounter table.
Yeah, there is still luck involved in running away. There's also big luck in terms of script spell usage on the fiends. So most fiends will have a 50% chance to use a script or a spell, and some fiends you're going to want them to hit, and other fiends you're going to want to use them to use it. And figuring out which one they decide can make or break a run.
And one swing, and Lich 2 goes down. Didn't have a chance, never had a chance.
And Speed Gaming 2 rating us with a party of 139 right in time. You are watching two of our top runners in the semifinals of the Final Fantasy Randomizer Spring 2020 tournament go through the last dungeon of the game. This is game 1 of 3. If you like it, come check it out again in the game 2. But right now, come finish this race off.
Carrie starting things off with a little bit of Fire 3.
Fire 3, terrible in the early game, but great in the late game when you have ribbons and health pools to absorb.
And another single swing, Fiend goes down.
Here we go. The last 3 bosses of this run, generally considered the gatekeepers. We have the super hard swinging Kraken, who has 900 HP, and we're at 230% scaling, so can be over 2,000. We have Tia, who can have a ton of HP, a ton of evade, ton of absorb, live forever, and cast things like Nuke and Nuclear. And then we have the big man himself, 2,000 HP Chaos, can get up to 4,600 and just wear your party down. So here we go. Cheezinator about to take on the first of the big 3 gatekeepers, moving the ribbon to his fighter. Here we go. Starts off with single Invis cast once again, Nuke, Invis 2, and the Power Bonk. So this is
nice
going to be
high roll Nuke.
This is going to be speed and power strats for Cheezinator. Kraken doing as Kraken does. That's not the biggest hit I've ever seen, though, so that means that a fighter could actually survive a hit there, but critically is the White Mage. The White Mage goes down, he does not have another life caster.
Very true. We'll have to see what Kraken continues to do. Kraken doesn't do anything. Kraken's dead.
Oh, man.
Thieves have had no health whatsoever.
Do we get Sea Snakes? No Sea Snakes either, so Crabcakes will get the same luck there.
Oh, Lich just stood up to a Masa swing on Crabcakes' side, but the Mage Stick finishes it out.
Wow, Zombie Ds have lit 3 too, so that's nasty, but luckily not as much of an issue now, but you could have seen that in Ordeals, and that would have been real bad.
It was bad for Crabcakes, because it took out her Black Mage on the early floors, and she just had to bring it back up before Lich.
And here we go, Cheezinator onto the second of the 3 major gatekeepers. Will Tia 2 be an issue? Similar strats. I think that was a wall, actually. Keeping the ninja up front, fighter in the second slot, so the second most likely to get hit, but knows that he has the absorb to get through most things. Tia coming out with Blizzard, which did some damage, but definitely not a bad thing. What you're really worried about with Cheezinator's party at this point is back-to-back non-elemental cast with a high HP, high absorb, high evade Tia. That's what's really going to take this party down. But other than that, not too much to be afraid of. Non-elementals, the big ones are going to be Nuke and Nuclear. 9 hits, 553, so that is not a high absorb or high evade Tia. And that 553 damage, gonna do pretty good. This Tia is gonna go down in 4 rounds at most. And there we go. Tia goes down. 1 boss remains between Cheezinator going up to 3-0 against Crabcakes in this Spring 2020 tournament. Is Cheese the complement to Crab?
That may be the case. Yeah, Cheese at the Crabcakes, meanwhile, taking on Kraken, throwing out some Lock 2 and some Invis 2. Kraken starting off with Fire 3 instead of punching someone out. And we get a white shirt off as well. Meanwhile, Cheezinator getting set up for the first turn against Chaos. We haven't seen anything particularly nasty. Chaos not punching very hard, but...
So far, so good.
Who knows what he's got for skills, and that's where things could start to get nasty with skills and spells.
With such a powerful party, kind of have all the tools that you could be looking for. This Chaos needs to start doing something fairly early, or else Cheese is going to get all his defenses up, and there's going to be very little that this Chaos can do.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, let's see, we're swinging 3 hits for 600 damage. Yeah, this Chaos is going to go down quick unless it starts throwing back-to-back nukes.
Yeah, I like the adjustment by Cheezinator to start casting Lock. This should be doing more than 3 hits, so trying to get that evasion down to increase his damage multiplicatively. We've done about 2,000 damage, which means this Chaos at most has probably 4 rounds left. Crabcakes better hope that Cheezinator gets something really nasty here as she pulls Tia 2. Here goes, swing comes out, 9 hits, 742. Chaos has more than his vanilla HP. Chaos comes out with a spell.
Nothing big deal. 7 hits. Chaos is terminated.
Get your GGs out in chat for the winner of Game 1. Cheezinator has done it. Congratulations, Cheezinator, for your
GG.
victory over Crab Cakes for the 3rd game in a row.
Yep. And with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 8 seconds.
And we are joined in chat by Cheezinator. GG, Cheese.
GG, thank you so much. That was a very intense run. Not the longest or hardest I've played. Of course, it definitely had awkward moments and kind of started slow, but I'm very, very grateful to have Game 1 in the books.
Yeah, and what a Game 1 it was. We had you guys running all over the map, trying to figure out, where was that progression, but got there eventually with that floater left side of C. I saw that you were having a quick discussion in SRL. Just, you two were so close for so much of this run. Cece got out to a little bit of an early lead, but then she did Mirage first, and that was really the only real routing difference. You went to Earth, which was a little bit faster than her doing all of Mirage, and that was ultimately the difference. But we'll turn over to Dr. Funkin here quickly as Cece takes on Chaos.
Yep, throwing out some white shirt and temper. Getting ourselves prepped to make sure Chaos can't hit us, and we can hit him as hard as possible. Throwing out some more tempers and some more white shirts. Hans with the power bonk, getting brought back, getting as powerful as he can. Ice 2 takes out Dan, but Dan's already done what he's needed to with that white shirt. More temper, more power bonks. And more tempers, some heal 3 to make sure that we're, nice and healthy on the rest of the party. Another Ice 2 from Chaos. No real, just a little bit of chip damage. Temper comes out, Power Bonk comes out, and now we're gonna start swinging. Cure 4 going out for the Black Mage. Lit 2, again, Chaos just throwing out chip damage. Lock 2 coming out to make Chaos easier to hit. Only 1 hit for 151 damage. That is not what you want to see, but we're going to keep swinging and keep throwing out those Lock 2s. Invis 2 coming out again, just in case Chaos is feeling punchy. And we got a miss from Hans, so it's a good thing that we got these locks coming out. More fighting, more Invis, more locks. Let's get dodgy, and let's stop Chaos from doing the same. 2 hits, 216 damage, not bad. Fire 3, again, just kind of tickles at this point. Lock 2 coming back out. Throwing out another power bonk since Chaos is not taking as much damage as we'd like to see. Another heal 3 comes out, keeping that party topped up. Another lock comes out on Chaos, making him even easier to hit. Chaos swing and a miss. And now we got a fight, wait, strats. 123 damage for a single hit. This Chaos is still dodging like crazy. There we go. 5 hits, 948 damage. That's some real work getting put in there. Wait, swing. 4 hits, 557. Chaos rub, ineffective. And 4 hits, 568. Chaos is terminated. Get your GGs in chat for Crab Cake, who finishes with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 45 minutes, and 33 seconds.
And as is tradition, Crab Cakes is in chat here in Twitch, so if you have any questions for her, please direct them there. Well, we're joined in the booth by Cheezinator. So yeah, let's head back over to you, Cheese. So yeah, this race, exceptionally close. Both of you put on a great show, really just a really high level of execution, and that's just why a few very small things made a difference throughout the seed. So is there any highlights that you wanted to touch on quickly before we kind of get into it just a little bit more?
I pretty much was certain she would get an edge on me in the early game based on how quickly she tends to go through her first few towns of exploration, how quickly she learns the encounter table and looks for like more opportune fights than I did. Like, for example, I was trying to fight some ogres and green ogres, and they turned out to have a Ice 2 or something. Anyway, so I was stumbling around a bit, but I made the last second decision. Instead of sailing to check the town at Crescent Lake, I would divert to Top of Earth and take advantage of the long run and the table to check those 5 chests. And getting the Zeus Gauntlet actually turned out to be an enormous boon because I used it all seed. The AoE magic was so bad and so locked away that Zeus Gauntlet was like the only reason I was ever able to start getting levels.
Yeah, we were commenting on that here in the booth, that Zeus Gauntlet was such a massive pickup for you.
Yeah, the Zeus Gauntlet. Now, I do want to turn our attention quickly to just kind of a decision. Was there any debate about going to C before going to Earth? Because that was something that I was considering for you in particular. I was wondering that the lack of AoE magic would take Crab Cakes to Earth for sure, because she didn't have that Zeus Gauntlet. But were you thinking, C or Earth, C or Earth?
So I was thinking C up until I picked up the rod from Astos, and because I was right next door, I was like, well, yes, C has more chests in total, but it's not like the chest density conversation between C and Sky, and it didn't seem like either one of those dungeons was something that Crab Cakes was more likely to go to. So like, it didn't feel like it was a metagame call. It felt just like, let's just do the proximity play. There are still 2 loose out there, and I'm going to continue this full clear. So yeah, Earth was just a proximity play.
And then maybe just a quick question for both of you, Crab Cakes can answer in chat. Was there any debate on doing Krakenside first? Now, of course, we have perfect 20/20 vision, but were you just kind of following the 2 loose, therefore mermaids, or was there any debate to try and go Krakenside first?
Is the 2 loose, therefore right side. If I were looking only for 1 loose, I would have gone left side first. That said, when I picked up the floater, you'll notice that I didn't check anything else on that floor. That wasn't so much because I was overconfident about like, oh, you know, the other item I need isn't on this floor, which I think at the time was... Actually, there's cube and loot were both available at the time. So It's not like I was, oh, this couldn't be here, but I said, I don't want to risk any longer, like if I'm going to run into the nuke sea snakes, I don't want to take any extra encounters than I have to here, and I will just eat it if at the end of the seed I full clear everything else and there was loose here, because I don't want to wipe the floater that I just picked up to sea snakes. I need to get this orb now and get out of here in order to have a chance to win.
Yeah, are the sea snakes on C, like the bottom floor of C as well, or was it just that floor where you were at risk?
You can still get a platter with like sea trolls, lobsters, and sea snakes, or maybe just lobsters and sea snakes. I'm almost certain I've seen sea snakes on the bottom floor, but I'm not 100% positive on the encounter formations. I would have to look at the guide.
Yeah, and also luckily, we were all worried about this, but there was no sea snake fun times in Topher on the sea floor there.
Yes, that was very, very fortunate. Frankly, because they didn't end up being the defining thing for my seed, like it sounds like CC wiped a bunch more, I'm a little sad I didn't at least stay in the fight in Northwest Keylocked long enough to see if they had a script. I just reset when I was like, well, I don't want to grind on sea snakes. And maybe getting that info earlier would have been important. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so Crab Cake's confirming in chat that she did see sea snakes on the Kraken 1 floor, so got out alive.
Yeah, and she got real lucky because they ambushed her and she still managed to get out alive.
Yeah, so go ahead, Cheese.
Oh, I was just going to say that and we must have been playing the encounter table very differently, or maybe she opted for the full clear left side, because with the standard burn, I had to burn off 4 encounters, all seed. I used like 100+ save items. With the standard burn of 4 to start, then that first encounter on the middle, on the sea fork as you go in, that was the sea snakes I think that I reset out of. And then from there, going left side, just checking the chests along the way and running into the floater and then going to Kraken, I never encountered another sea snake. So like, that was a pretty fortunate spot in the encounter table to be in, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I think you were pretty much on the exact same encounter table. I'd have to confirm with Crab Cake because I didn't see exactly what was going on, but she did not open chests on the Sharknado floor either, probably for a similar reason to you. So both of you kind of playing with, not fire, just gambling a little bit that the shop item was guaranteed at that point to be one of the 2 key items you were looking for, as there was no fetch quest that could lead to the Thor hammer. So you knew that you had one, and then there was just a 50-50 coin flip, whether or not the other one was the cube or not. It wasn't, but finding it in the Cardia Isles worked out well for both of you. A little bit better for you, Cheese, as at that point you had built up about the 2-minute lead that we saw through to the end of the seed.
Yeah, and Cardia obviously made the most sense there. I was in proximity from promoting, and I wanted to promote before going to Elflin, just in case there was Night Learnable Life 2. And I was very aggressive in, like, I only need this chest. Like, there were more chests in the room with the cube, and I left because I was just like, against CC, like, once I finish the last box, I need to not open another one. I didn't even do the validations in Topher. I was just like, 2 ribbons and Maza, let's just go.
And CC made the exact same play. She made a small adjustment in that she promoted first for probably the same reason that you did before you went to Lefane, or Vanilla Lefane location.
Yeah.
She just promoted before she went to check Gaia. And that was really the only difference. And that, I don't even think there was a time win or loss there. It was pretty much moot at that point. Basically, from the moment both of you exited Tia, after clearing out Sky, or sorry, after you cleared out Kraken, there was almost no difference. It was just that kind of 2-minute difference that you had built up from a few wipes on CC side as well as clearing out Mirage, and then just a little bit faster on your side because of Fast. That was.
Did I enter Topher after her but overtake her with Fast, or did we enter at the same time, or like
she entered 1 minute behind you.
Behind me? Okay.
And we were.
I wanted to say, I said this in chat, but I scouted Fast early, and despite I plowed through despite the horrible locked away AoE for the Black Mage, and it basically just being a Mage Stick bot all seed, I knew I needed to get it to 25 or 26 for 1 or 2 fast charges, and so I just committed to keeping it alive and getting it levels. The plan the whole game was to get 2 fast charges for Tia and Chaos, and the blue stake off Power Cycle was so clutch for that.
Yeah, and that play definitely helped out. Yeah, and that was actually the point I was just about to make, which CC is saying in chat, is that you spent a little bit of time to get that fast charge, and we were wondering if CC was going to make up a little bit of the ground, but she then went to do some slow spell buying as well to buy Cure 4 for the night. So it kind of all ended up fairly even, in that you two went to different towns, but
yeah, I bought Night Cure 4. I don't know if I used it though.
Yeah. So as we kind of bring things to a close here, first off, Cheezinator. So far, out of everyone in this tournament, you have had CC's number. So is there anything that you would like to say as we go into Game 2?
Look, I should be very, very realistic. And like, the conditions under which I won are very much rando. If you look at the Swiss victory, I took a different party and I gambled a lot on not needing to open boxes, and I beat her by a couple minutes. I got to the first dungeon that had the incentive in the play-in race, so I was to Volcano earlier, and she did more of the game in less time than me, but I still again was ahead because I went to the right dungeon first. And then this one, I didn't wipe as much, right? And like, these are all things that are going to happen to anyone on a given day, you know, given the luck and stuff. But if we are to take the exact same path and wipe the same number of times, she's going to beat me because she moves through the game more quickly. Her menuing is faster. She's less likely to slip on a banana peel. You saw me kind of like running around with my head cut off like a chicken a couple times there. So, you know, I still respect that she's going to out-execute me, and I need to just play as clean as I can and not lose time, like not lose free time to her, and then hope that something rolls my way, whether it's like loose item placement or something. But yeah, I've got 2 games left to get 1 more, so feel pretty happy. If I lose the next 2, I can still say that I went 3-2 against her this tournament. But of course, I want to get to the finals.
Yeah, very well spoken. And I think it's important also for us to recognize you're being very modest, but you have to execute super, super cleanly to even have a chance at that, you know, lottery ticket that, you know, you'll get just a little bit better luck if she's out executing you. But she out executes you by maybe a few percent, maybe 1%, whereas she out executes a lot of other people by a lot more, where she could full clear while, you know, I'm still pick God route everything and still lose. So I think, you know, don't sell yourself too short there. Well, CC, if she wants to type up any final thoughts in chat, I'll pass it over to Dr. Funkin before I wrap things up. Dr. Funkin, anything you would like to say before we finish up here?
Not a whole lot. That was a fantastic race. I'm looking forward to Game 2. Is that going to be tomorrow night at the same time?
Game 2. Yeah, so Game 2
Saturday.
will be on the 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, so same time, Saturday night. In the meantime, you know, everyone, thank you so much for watching with us. Please follow our runners, follow the Speed Gaming family of networks, follow Duchess for Kaio-sama, our tracker, follow my co-commentator, Jet2980, And, if you saw this race and thought, wow, that looks like fun, I'd like to join in, go to FinalFantasyRandomizer.com and roll yourself up a seed. If you got any questions about how to do it, there'll be a link to our Discord there. You can come to the Discord, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you've got. Other than that, that does it for me tonight. Jat, you got any final words for us?
Yeah, so as Dr. Funkin's already summarized pretty much everything, but if you're interested in Final Fantasy Randomizer action, we do have another game going on right now on Randomania 1. We also do have these games tomorrow again, Spells at Thirst Thundercloud, potentially Game 3 happening tomorrow. And then, as you said, tune in again on Saturday, 8 p.m. for Game 2 between these two fantastic runners. Should be a great one. So thanks to everyone who hung out with us tonight. Thank you very much to Speed Gaming for having us on. We always appreciate our partners. Thank you to my co-cons, Dr. Funkin, and thank you to Duchess Rukasema for tracking for us tonight. For everyone who watched, we hope you enjoyed. Come check us out. Come join us. There's lots of fun. And yeah, have a great night. Thank you very much.